Hi and welcome. My name's Julieanne Kost, and in the next few minutes we're going to take a look at the Slideshow module in Lightroom. Now I'm going to start in the library module, and what I've done is I've just created a collection of some images, and I've got both some still images as well as some video, and I've just put them in the order that I want them to appear in the slideshow. Of course, I can always change this order when I'm in the Slideshow module. I just find it easier to actually do my arranging in the library because I have a lot more room. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to the Slideshow module, and let's take a look at all of the different options. So up here across the top, I can choose to either zoom to fill my image to the frame, in which case it will probably have to crop the image a little bit because it's not the same aspect ratio. I could also choose to stroke the border, and I can choose the color of the border by just clicking right here in the color swatch. And I can also choose to make that border wider or thinner using the width slider here. If this was on a lighter background, which I could change, and I'll show you how to do that later, I can add a cast shadow as well to kind of separate the photograph from that background. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave these off, and then we'll take a look at the different layout options. So here we can see that I can see my guides, and if I want to, I can change these guides all at once by just dragging the sliders, or I can unlink them by clicking the link all to unlink them, and then I can either use the sliders here in order to reposition my image in the slideshow area, or I can simply click on any of these different guides right here within the image in order to change where the image falls within that slideshow. All right, right now I'm going to go ahead and link them all though, and I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, give me a little bit of room. All right, over in the overlay area, here's where I can add different overlays such as an identity plate or a watermark or text overlays. Now, I have another movie that goes all through identity plates and watermarks, and if I just scoot over here to the Safari, you can see that on my blog, which is blogs.adobe.com/jkost, I've clicked here in the Lightroom video tutorials area, and if we scroll down here quite a ways, you'll notice right here that I have two separate movies, one on creating your identity plate and one on watermarking images. So all of that information is there, and you're more than welcome to watch that video. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on this text overlay area. So when I enable the text overlays, then I can click where it says ABC down here in my toolbar. And the great thing about text overlays is that they're actually grabbing information from the metadata in my image. So if I had captioned, or if I had added titles to any of my images, or if I wanted the file name to appear underneath each image, Lightroom would go ahead and do all that work for me. All I need to do is select from the list which options I want Lightroom to show. So for example, if I wanted it to show the file name, I could select that. Now we see there's the file name, and I can move this around, and you can see there's a little anchor, and depending on where I move the text, that anchor is going to anchor to different areas. And we can either anchor this text to the image, or we can drag it down a little further and we can anchor it actually to the border of the slide. And I find this is really useful because as you anchor to the slide, that means that I could switch out my image vertical to horizontal and vice versa, and the text will always stay in the same location. Whereas if I were to anchor this text, say, to the lower left of the image, this text would always be moving based on the orientation of the image. So I'll go ahead and just anchor that to the bottom, maybe to the middle, and then I'll just click on one of these handles in order to make that a little smaller, and then rearrange it. And I might actually want to scroll back up now to my layout area, just unlink all of these guides, and just scoot the image up a little bit so I have a little bit more space at the bottom. Okay. Like I said, we can add the file name. I also have a lot of other options here. For example, if I wanted to use this as a teaching tool, I might want to change my text to be the exposure or maybe the equipment that I've used. In fact, I can even go in here and edit this and add all of this different options. So you can really put a lot of information about each image by using the text template editor. So you would just make the changes that you want, and then just as you would save any preset in Lightroom, you would just save your new settings as a new preset. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here for now. But that is how you would add this kind of text overlay. And again, if I had this on a lighter background, I could also add a drop shadow to it. All right, let's scoot down to the backdrop area here. If I want to add a color wash, I can go ahead and enable that. You can see that the color is light gray. So now my background is going from light gray to dark black. Obviously, I can change that. I can also change the opacity as well as the angle of this color wash. If I wanted to change the background color, I could enable that down here, and then I could just select from the color swatch. Let's say I want that to go to white. In fact, if I wanted solid white, then I could just turn off the color wash. Of course, now my text is very hard to see since it is also white, so I could come back to my overlay area and just click on the color swatch for my text, and now we can make that dark on the light background. All right, back to the backdrop area. I also want to show you that you can add a background image. If I enable that, then I can simply drag from my film strip up into this area, and Lightroom will add that as a background image. Probably I want to decrease the opacity of that background image just to make it a little bit more subtle. So that's up to you whether or not you want to add that background image. For now, let's just go ahead and turn this off. I'll go back to my overlays and we'll just change that text back to white. All right, below that, we've got our title area. So when you play the slideshow, you can choose for Lightroom to show an intro screen as well as an ending screen. And you would do that by just enabling that. You can see here that it's showing me my identity plate, the default identity plate. If I want to change that, obviously I can go in here and choose Edit. And then we could change the text here. For example, I might want this to say Iceland. When I click OK, it'll show me Iceland. I'll probably want that a little larger so I could scale that up, but you can type in whatever you want in that identity plate. Now it's going to show me the starting screen for a few seconds while I'm editing it, and then it's going to go ahead and show me my regular preview. So just, don't be concerned when that disappears. If you want to see it again, just simply click on any of the options here. It'll show it and then again hide it after a few seconds. And of course, if you didn't want the intro screen to say anything, you just wanted it to start off black for a number of seconds, that would be fine too. You can just turn off the identity plate and it will start with a black screen. We can do the same thing for the ending screen. Again, we can have it end with black, or we can add our identity plate. And of course, we could type in something different for that ending screen, maybe something like contact information. All right, moving all the way down to the playback panel. Here's where you can select your audio. So let's enable that, and then we'll go ahead and select a piece of music here. I've got some music from Triple Scoop, and I'll just choose that, and then select a song, click choose, and now we've got a song, and we can see that the duration is almost 4 minutes. So now if I want Lightroom to do the work for me, I can simply tell Lightroom to fit the slideshow to the music. You can see now the duration of each slide has changed. One thing to note though, if you are going to change something like the fade, for example, maybe I want a very short fade of just 1 second. If I change that after I click the fit to music, you'll want to make sure that you click the fit to music again so that Lightroom can recalculate how long each slide should be. If you are including some video with your still images, you'll also want to take a look at the audio balance slider. If there's important audio that you've captured in your video, then probably you want to keep the audio balance more towards the video so that you can actually hear what's going on in the video. Basically, what Lightroom does then is it'll play the music in the background, but if there is video with important audio, that will be played louder during the video. Now, in this case, my audio for my video is terrible, so I'm just going to move this all the way to the right so the music just overlays and we don't hear the video at all. Now, at this point, since I've spent some time in the slideshow, if I want to save this, I would click to create the saved slideshow. And in this case, I'll call it Iceland Slideshow. And I'm going to put it inside my collection of images and then choose to create. So if we look over here on the left-hand side, and in fact, let me hide the preview for a moment, we can see that inside my collection area, I now have the collection of images and video, but I also have this saved Iceland slideshow, which means that I can go off and work and do other things, but if I ever want to return to exactly this state with these images and these options, I can do so. Now, if I've spent a lot of time setting up all of the options on the right-hand side and I actually want to reuse this as a template with different images, then I would want to go over to the template browser up here, click on the plus icon, and then save this as a template. So in this case, I might name this template like black background and maybe text overlay. And I might want to add the music and all of those details if that's important. And then we can save that into either the user templates or we can save that into a new folder of templates. And we'll take a look at some of these templates in a moment. For now, I'll just click Create. And then I can show you if we scroll down, here's the user templates, and this is the template that we just created. So really the difference between a template is you would use a template with different images, but you would save the slideshow itself that contains kind of the template or all of the options here and all the panels plus the photographs. Okay, so now all we need to look at is how we want to preview and play this slideshow. But before we do that, you can see that my audio is rather long and I only have a few images. So I'm actually going to override the automated fit to music option here. And I'm going to take the slides way down the duration to just maybe like 3 seconds here. I just want to make sure they play a little bit faster. And then I'll click on the play button. And Lightroom will go ahead and show us the intro. You can see that we've got that audio is playing, and then it'll start playing the first image. We can see that we've got video in there as well. And then it'll go ahead and transition to the next image. All right, excellent. If I want to stop the slideshow, I can tap the space bar, and that way I can manually control. So maybe if I was giving a lecture and I was wanting to talk about my work, I could tap the space bar, that stops the slideshow. Then I could tap the space bar again in order to start it playing again. Here we have another video clip. And then tap the space bar again to stop it. Now, if I want to escape out of the slideshow, I can tap the escape key and that will return me back to Lightroom. If I did want to change the order of the slideshow, of course, I mentioned that I had set up the order initially in the library module, but I can always use the film strip right down here. I can select an image and then simply drag it in order to reorder it here instead of going back to the library and then coming back to the slideshow module. So now before I wrap this up, I just want to make sure that we kind of get a taste of some of the other templates that you can create. So let's just quickly look through a few of them. These are the default Lightroom templates. Here you can see that I have a caption. If I had a caption, it would appear down here, as well as the rating. Here we've got a crop to fill, so your image would just fill up the entire area. This is just a default slideshow right here. We've got one that shows EXIF data. We've got one that shows widescreen. And then here are a few of mine that I've created. This is just a basic black background with a logo. And by the way, we can see over here, when we go to overlays, this logo here was just created by using an identity plate. Here we have the background with a title. So if I click on an image that has a title, we can see that title appears here. Here I've got one that just doesn't have an intro. It's black for 3 seconds. Here, same thing, but it has 5 seconds. This one does actually have an intro screen. So if we scroll down and go to the titles area, you can see that it would add this intro screen right there, just kind of more of a logo look. That's just a graphical identity plate, and I access that by just going here to my identity plates and going to edit, and then using a graphical identity plate instead of just stylized text. All right, here we go to another one. This is black with an identity plate. Here again, black background, but has a lot of different metadata. So we added one simple custom text, but you should know you can add as many different pieces of custom text as you would like to. Here I've just changed the background to lighter gray so I could show you the drop shadow. And here we have a lot of instructional information. And finally, one more with a white background, little identity plate over here. All right, so once you have everything set up the way you want it, obviously we looked at how you could preview and play the slideshow, but you should also know that you could export this as a PDF file or export to video. One little warning with the export to PDF, your audio and any video is not actually going to be exported, just a still image would be exported. But if you export using the video option here, you can see we have a number of different presets that you can use in order to turn your slideshow into a video. And that's a quick overview of the slideshow module in Lightroom. My name's Julieanne Kost. Thanks for watching.